Good morning, everybody, or good evening, or good afternoon, or whatever time of the day it is for you. Welcome to Life Mastery TV, and a very happy New Year to you. My name is David McLeod. I'm your Life Mastery coach and one of the co-hosts and producers of this show. Today, we're doing something special. My normal co-host, Tommy Stoffel, is not here with us today, but I've invited some amazing people to join us, and I'm going to just introduce them one at a time and let them speak a little bit about who they are and why they're here. And I'm going to start with you, Susie. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year. It's been a fabulous year already, and I'm grateful that I can see the energy of 2016 kind of exploding with hope and joy. And if people haven't figured out their word for 2016, I suggest they think about it. Funny thing is, my word is freedom. Same as my husband, same as our secretaries, unscripted, it just happened. And freedom to me, and a little bit of who I am, means freedom from the thoughts that run around in our minds continuously and stop us from going forward and being who we are. So I'm an intuitive consultant. I'm an author of 2 books. My newest one is called From Ego to Soul. I blog, I just help people see what the difference is between their ego and their soul, not to make the ego wrong, but to bring the soul more into conjunction with all of us. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Susie. And Sarah, good morning to you, or good evening to you from you in the UK. Welcome.
It's definitely good evening, but I'll say good morning to you because I know it's morning. And Happy New Year to everybody. Great to see you again, David. I'm a complementary health therapist. My main practice is sound energy, and it was only a few weeks ago that I got told it's called vocal Reiki because I very much use toning the voice. It's very powerful technique. I love using it. And I also run Gift of Healing TV, which is how come I saw David fairly recently, because he and Tommy joined me on my Wednesday evening for our program. It was wonderful to have them with us. I also share messages from our friends in the mythical realm. I work with dragons. I have a great deal of fun working with many energies in the universe. And it's great to be here with you. And so I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. And by the way, folks, I just want to say I've experienced Sarah's vocal Reiki personally, and I got to tell you, it is awesome. So I highly recommend you connect in with her and find out more. Anyway, Beata Lewis, welcome back. So great to have you on the show again. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Good morning, and Happy New Year to everyone. I think there are very few people left on the planet who haven't already entered this year, so by the time they see it, everyone's here. I am so delighted to be in such good company, and especially with those who are bringing awareness of what so many of us are not aware of, the outer realms. And my work is as a coach and consultant with Bridging Lives, and it's really about helping leaders and leadership teams do the best work they can here. And really bring out the best in themselves and in each other, and do the very, very difficult work of collaboration, which it sounds so easy, right? Just work together. My sister once explained my work to somebody that she says she helps people who are really, really well educated and big experts play nice. And that's true.
Well, I love that phrase, bridging lives.
Thank you.
And it's got such a beautiful metaphor to it. And what's interesting, I recently did a past life regression experience with one of the other people who's been on this show, Josette Prevost. And one of my own visions was about me being in a sense, a bridge builder, a connector of different kinds of energy. And it was such a beautiful experience to have that. And I never really thought of myself in that way. And so I think that's what we're all doing here. In a sense, we are somehow connecting to this power that's available to us. And we're hopefully opening our hearts and sharing it with other people so that they can see their own beauty and magnificence in different ways. And what I like about this is each one of us here on this call has a completely different way of doing that, and all of them are perfect. And I love it. It's just really awesome. So I'm just going to open up the question now. When we talk about embrace the force, what does that mean to you?
Well, I'll jump in with, since many of us in the States, and I don't know about other places, have seen Star Wars. And I saw the originals in '77, and I felt like I was right back there again. It was lovely to see the old cast. But I go, just like you did, from force to source. Because to me, it's really embrace the source that is within us, that is undefinable, but brings us the magical moments, things we can't see, things we can't understand, and brings us into conformity with more of who we are once we embrace that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Force. My immediate reaction on hearing that word force was love. The force is love. And you talk about connecting with our heart, but of course it's connecting with our core. Source is love. Our heart energy is love, and love is the power. Love is the power that can bring peace, to connect with each other. Love is the only connecting force, because nothing else can truly connect us all. So to me, the force and embracing it's about embracing love. So that was my immediate reaction to the title of this.
Great, thank you.
You know, embrace the force. Also, for me, brings up the Star Wars movie, and I am a very avid student of Joseph Campbell and the whole hero's journey work, and the idea of really creating your own myth and the leadership story. And when you think back to where we got this phrase from, the Luke Skywalker was being admonished in a time of great despair and difficulty to embrace the force, right? Connect with the force be with you. And so what I would also add to what has already been said is that the force is this source within that guides our actions and guides right use of power and guides us towards what we think of as the light and sort of the expression of our purpose and the realization of our potential. And this quality, it's not from the external, it's from really connecting within. And I would invoke right now the various ways that all of us are struggling in this hero's journey to meet the monster and deal with the obstacles and somehow prevail. And this notion of embrace the force is embrace the force within. It's almost the wrong word if we think of the work power versus force. It's really embrace the power.
Yeah, and you know the idea of Tommy and I were talking about this, and certainly The Force Awakens was absolutely something that we thought was an important topic, but we wanted to kind of reframe it in our own way, and so this is where the idea of embrace the force came from. But I absolutely agree with everything that's been said here. It's really about we have to stop looking without. We have to stop pointing those fingers outward. We have to start looking within. That is where truth lies. If there is any such thing as truth, that's where it's going to be found. It's going to be found in here. And I think, you know, I've come to believe for myself that the only real truth that exists is the statement, I am. Everything else is just perspective, judgment, interpretation, interaction, experience. It's all the rest of it. But I am only happens right here, right now, in this very moment. And without this consciousness, then the concept of truth can't even exist. So the idea is, as I see it, is to start looking within, going down into that deep place, and connecting in to that source that is within us. I mean, we're always connected to it, but getting our minds out of the way so that we can feel and experience that connection, I think. And Susie, you talked about that a little bit at the beginning, about getting the ego out of the way. So tell us a little bit about how you would do that.
Well, you know, this is a slippery slope of life, because we think that we are human beings, but we in this group know that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So my thing is, I always go back to, what is it going to be when this bag of bones is gone? And it's going to be what it is in the next world, where we are connected and understand Source in a different way than we can here. But every action and reaction that we create right here in this world, whether it is our story that many people are living by, they just stay in their story because that's their comfort level. And that's what the ego is a comfort level. When you break out of that, the tears come and the sadness comes, because you realize you can't go back to a life that is just one that is exterior, as you said, David. You have to start looking, what does this mean to me? Who am I in this big scheme? How do I act and react? And my little book, it's really tiny, but it's just everyday conversations with Source Energy about how to think about this and how to navigate it, almost for the beginner. And so I think people are finding it useful. It's just brand new, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, Beata, how did that resonate for you? I mean, how would you get your ego mind out of the way so that you can connect in with Source in a way that feels like a real experience?
Well, I would first of all take a good deep breath. And I think that one of the things that in working with the people I work with, and certainly in working with myself, because we only teach what we need to learn, right, is connecting with Source, connecting with center, connecting with the inner power in the moment. So it's really wonderful to have a practice. It's very essential to have a practice where you can, isolate yourself and be quiet and sit still, or, be in nature or whatever. But most of us are in life and need to make split-second decisions about what we say and what we do, and the Force be with you there. That's right. And so that's where all this practice finds its application. It's in that exact moment. And I wanted to add to what was said before, which is it's about finding the Source within, but we really, really, really have to get connected to the fact that we are no longer in the age of the lone wolf. We're in the age of the eagle and the condor flying together. And so there is no future for this civilization, for the humanity, for what we think of as reality now, except that we figure out how to get along. And so in the collaboration, I would suggest that it's actually connecting to the Source in the other as well. So you connect here, but you also connect there. And that can be extremely trying when the person in front of you personifies your shadow, your projected demons, and they're in front of you, and you would just as soon kill them.
Yeah.
Banish them. Get rid of them.
That's right, because we don't want to look at our shadows. We don't want to look at those parts of ourselves that we've put into the background.
No.
I'm going to have to talk to you more about this, Beata, because I do a lot of shadow work, and I want to discuss more about that. But so, Sarah, what do you have to say about that? And the idea of kind of penetrating ego and getting reconnected in a spiritual sense to that Source?
See, to me, ego is an essential part of us, but its role has stayed that of when we were a child. And its role was essential in the form it was. It was our protector. But it is still treating us like that little child. It is the ego that brings about the fear. And it's so much about getting away from that fear. And so the way that the mythical friends brought it to me was, your heart is the CEO of your life. Your ego to now has been the accountant of your life, because the accountant is always telling CEOs what they can't do. And it's saying to your ego, thank you, thank you, thank you for everything that you have ever done for me. I am going to now promote you to a much happier, more fulfilling role. And that is to the personal assistant to my heart. And it is for you now to help make my heart choices happen. Personal assistants will, if your CEO turns around and says, I want to go to the moon. Now, come on, let's be real. You know, not everybody's got the money to be able to do that, the means to be able to do that. She can come back, or he can come back, because I'm sure there are male personal assistants out there, and say, I know this person who does an amazing meditation. And you can go as far as you like out into the universe. So the personal assistant will always come up with a way. It may not be exactly as the CEO, the heart, thought it was going, but it's a way to get round that ego mind and stop referring to the ego as being the big bad wolf, because actually, and the wolf comes into it again, bless, because actually the ego has been an amazing protector, and we've got to stop painting it so black and just give it a much happier, more fulfilling role.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree with that, and that's certainly a big part of my own teaching too. Is, you know, I've heard certain teachings. I'm not sure where they came from, but I have heard people say you've got to kill the ego. And every time I hear that, I feel myself reacting. I say, well, so to create more love in the world, I've got to get violent. Is that what you're saying? You know, and really, it wouldn't serve any purpose anyway. You know, ultimately, I suppose there may be justifications for certain levels of violence on some level, which I don't yet understand. But I really think that all we end up doing is creating more damage. Well, if we allow the ego to kind of have that control of being too protective, being too caught up in fear, being set up in a way that it's making up stories that may not even have any basis in reality in order to keep us safe. If we keep listening to that, then we do get ourselves off track. And so it takes a little bit of effort to come back to the heart and just say, thank you so much for all of those beautiful thoughts and ideas and wonderful support that you're giving me, and I know I can handle it now. I know I can handle it. I've heard your counsel, and I can handle it. So we can listen to the ego, we can bless the ego, we can encourage it to take a little vacation while we sit in silence, as Beata suggested, and reconnect into our heart. That's what we can do. And that's, I think, how we can connect into the force. And Susie, I know you're anxious to say something there. Go ahead.
Well, the way I see it is pretty simplistic, and probably too simplistic, but the ego really shouts to us very loudly and keeps us as controlled and in a box as it feels we can handle. Right. Where the soul speaks to us gently in a whisper, and if we are aware enough, and this is the key word, is awareness, if we are aware enough that we are spiritual beings, and that whisper is important, and you have to pay attention to it, and everybody has to find out where their whispers come from and how they're heard. I use my intuition a lot. I hear ideas just as I'm waking up, as I'm sure many people do. Many people hear them in the shower, on a walk, on their bicycle, whatever, out in nature. But they hear them and they let them go because they haven't given them credence and they don't consider it part of their soul work. And I do. and that's where I come. That's the division for me, is when I get the loud stuff, I go, okay, I call that Posy, my ego name. And when I get the whispers, that's Claire, my soul name. And I listen and I react to that soul work, and I do it. And that helps me as a human being shine my light.
Yeah, that's great.
I would like to add something. I love that, and it reminded me also of what I learned from a teacher of mine, Angeles Arian, where she asks, where have you stopped singing? Where have you stopped dancing? Right? When you're really working with the evolution of the self, you have to stay connected to what keeps your heart alive, and you connected to your essence self. And I brought with me today a beautiful symbol. I think this is a lovely thing that is about embracing the force. First of all, these are feathers. That's probably obvious, and and
They're beautiful.
aren't they beautiful? This is a piece of art created by an indigenous artist, and as I understand it, they're friendship feathers. And the idea of this, to me, my interpretation, is we're each individual expressions of the universe, the only song there is. There's one song, it's the universe, and we're each expressions of it, and we're connected. We're unique, we're separate if you like, but we're connected. And I think that embracing the force is very much about being in the reality of that duality, because we are here in a duality run plane. We are separate and we are connected. And so we tend to be very aware of what's here, what is available to our senses. But connecting to the force is also really attuning to the universe, and aligning with the universal flow, if you like. And that's also from Luke Skywalker's thing. What I recall about the force be with you was that when the force is with you, it's not going to be full of effort, and it won't overtax what you can do. You'll slice right in.
Beautiful.
Sarah, did you want to add something?
It's just that I suppose every morning, and I suppose it's my thank yous. I say I have everything I require for today, and then I add to that. And one of the things that I add to that is the love in my heart and an ego that listens to my heart, to the intuition, to the instincts, that listens. And that is one of the things I give thanks for every day, because as with your I am, it's the more we encourage ourselves, it's the affirmations. The more we say it, the more we come to believe it, and the more it is. And the more I am connected to my heart, to its choices, and to listen to that guidance. Yeah, whether it's first thing in the morning, out for a walk, whatever it is. And it comes in all sorts of places for me, at all sorts of times. But it is learning to listen. And the force is there for all of us. The energy that I work with Reiki, with the toning, it's all the same energy, it's all the same force. It may have slightly different forms, but actually it taps in to that same force. And to me, I love the Star Wars films, I really do. I haven't seen the new one yet. I know I will get to at some stage. But the force to me is love.
Right.
And when you tune into that love, the love's good, and you're detached from an outcome of offering that love, you are offering the greatest for each to continue to choose for themselves.
Beautiful.
David, may I add something? This energy of love also shows up in how we understand play. And we know that play is really the seat of all creativity. And and there has been some research done by a fellow whose name I'm forgetting right now, but basically he defined play as the unconditional exchange of love. So the giving and receiving of love. And how very different that is from how most of us learn what play is, right? Play has rules and there's a way to win and all these other things. But if you really think about the giving and receiving of love being play, and then you translate that into a work context or a context where there are serious things at stake, and we have to be adults about it, and et cetera, et cetera. But the play that allows us to come up with the most creative ideas and let go of our attachment to being right, and actually play with the universe again, and the universe of, these are the people, these are the voices, these are the perspectives who looking and looking and experimenting with this can come up with something new and slice right through. This idea of play is a translation of this idea of love.
I love that vision of play as the unconditional exchange of love. That really resonates for me. Our typical view of play, where we talk about games. I mean, if you think about just about any game that you can imagine, there's always a way to win, which means somebody has to lose. In other words, every game is just a simple variation on the concept of war. What we're doing is teaching each other to go to war when we play those games. So if we can come up with games like you described that really allow for the free and unconditional exchange of love, we have a win-win kind of structure which completely eliminates that notion of war. And I love that idea. I want to try and find more ways of doing that. But I also want to mention about your one song idea. I've heard that before. My son actually is a poet and a hip-hop artist, and he actually wrote a song with that very concept in mind. So to hear you say it, and it just kind of, boof, I love it. And that's really what we're doing here. It's one song, it's one force, it's one love, it's one giant bridge, it's one connection. And when we say, may the force be with you, I think what we're really doing is we're talking to the other person's ego and saying, slip down inside because the force is already there.
How about may the force be in you?
Yeah, that's good too.
That's the interpretation I took from the movie, and my kids and my husband took, because I think that that's what the reality is. The force is within us. And when we can connect into our heart and into our soul and into our intuitive selves, we will feel that source. We will feel that force that makes us real and makes life expand in new and wonderful ways for us that we can't even figure out.
Yeah, beautiful. So I guess we're getting close to the end here, and I just want to leave a little bit of time for each of you to offer a suggestion or two for people how they can really embrace the force and start bringing it forth in their lives for the coming year, and just to see what they could create for the year. Who would like to start with that?
Okay, I will. I will start with, and I know this is part of the conversation we had the other night, the word no. Hear the word no, N-O, new opportunity.
Nice.
And see no, somebody who's being honest and truthful with you, who is not leading you on and letting you down at the last minute, who is saying, it's not right for me, doesn't mean you don't do whatever it is you've asked, but go and find the way with the people that are right for you. But it's not right for me. See no as being somebody giving you the greatest gift, loving you and respecting you enough to be totally honest with themselves and with you. So find a way of create what we refer to as negative words, as finding the true love, the true force that is behind what we refer to as negative, and realize that they can actually be the most positive words that can be said to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, I love that. May I go next? Because I would like to build on that. I love no as new opportunity. And so the force, what we can all know from our own experience is we can feel the force coming against us, right? And it can feel like aggression, or it can feel like blockage or whatever. And there's a no, right? There's a no that comes up. And but also then in working with other people and they have different ideas, or it's just not as easy as you want it to be, to go under the no, to dive under the no, and find out what's there. And it's rather like surfing. If you imagine a big wave coming from the ocean, and rather than being tumbled by the wave, you want to really experience what's behind that wave and the power of that wave. You dive down below it, and then it crashes, and you come up on the other side, and you're there and able to work with the energy that's there. So my tip is to recognize the wave for what it is, dive down, and then come up for air and look for what you can embrace now.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And I'll follow that up with something slightly different. One thing I love to leave with people is to be kind to yourself and others. Mm-hmm. When you are kind to yourself first, you are embracing your heart and soul, and then your energy emanates it out to others. And you can do this in the most simple ways, at the grocery store, with your family, at the post office when you're standing in line and you're frustrated. Find a way to be kind. It's a simple, simple, simple thing. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And the force then and the source is within you.
Beautiful. Thank you all. And one thing I like to do, I kind of transition the phrase, may the force be with you, to let yourself feel the force. Because really that's what we're talking about here. And if you can let yourself feel the force, then you are embracing it. And that's really what we've been inviting you to do for this entire conversation. Anyway, I want to thank Beata and Sarah and Susie for all being here with me today. I want to thank all of you for watching. And I also want to wish everyone a very, very happy new year. Tommy and I will be back next week with another amazing topic. This one will be called Shiny Object Syndrome. We're going to have fun with that one. So, bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, David.
Bye.
Bye. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye-bye.